Chapter 621, Lu Shu's character has been destroyed. A group of people looked around. Captain was beside me just now. How did he suddenly disappear? I saw him just now too. Before the soldiers of the sea retreated, he had helped to shield me from an attack, said someone. Captain. Mo Chengkong shouted, but there was no reply. The group of people did not know what happened and did not know what to do. They had lost their captain. Chen Xuan pondered about it. Something was not right. With Lu Shu's abilities, it was not possible that he had silently been kidnapped. Chen Xuan remembered that when the soldiers of the sea retreated, one of the blue-faced soldiers of the sea looked back and blinked at him. Back then, Chen Xuan had thought that this soldier of the sea had been out of its mind. We were completely different species. There was no point flirting. Thinking about it now, that soldier was clearly Lu Shu. Lu Shu did not tell anyone that he was going into the sea, as he was not sure what he would encounter underwater. He was not sure whether he would create a large movement in the water. No one would know even if he made mischief underwater. It would be easy for him to pass the blame. He had hinted to Chen Xuan as he had wanted to pass on the information. Chen Bailey had to know. If he was stuck underwater for too long, Chen Bailey may have to come save him. Thus, he had to let Chen Bailey know that he went underwater. But as for whether Chen Xuan would be able to catch his hint and not let the others know, he was not sure. Lu Shu felt that Chen Xuan should be able to understand him, right? Lu Shu was not too sure either. But Chen Xuan did not disappoint him. He went to find Chen Bailey and told him about the situation. No matter how much the others tried to look for Lu Shu, Chen Xuan did not say anything. Chen Bailey thought about it and said, "That is too risky." "Second master, will you go to save him?" Chen Xuan asked curiously. "But I choose to trust him," Chen Bailey said. "He should have a good grasp of his abilities." Chen Xuan was unhappy. Whatever he said, he would be faced with doubt and disdain from Chen Bailey. But he would trust whatever Lu Shu said without question. This difference was just too large. But he did not dare to say anything else. His second master was infamous for his short temper. He heard that when Chen Bailey saw the soldiers of the sea yesterday, he got upset. Once he made his move, even the bronze armor was no match for him. When Chen Bailey knew that the bronze armor could be removed, he accidentally injured 2 soldiers of the sea in his regret. Chen Bailey hung up his Taoist robes and looked out. Chen Bailey carefully asked, "Second master, I feel that my performance at the remains this time." "Go away." Underwater, the soldiers of the sea who had retreated assembled west of the island. Afterwards, they retreated west. Lu Shu wore a mask and blended in with the soldiers of the sea. He realized that the soldiers of the sea did not meet with any resistance underwater. If Lu Shu did not have water-type abilities, he would not have been able to blend in. He was very relaxed. When his water-type abilities reached Class C, he was just a step away from intertwining with the water element. Walking underwater was not a problem for Lu Shu. They walked on the seabed. Their surroundings were pitch black. In this kind of environment, Lu Shu could only rely on the water element to sense the movements in his surroundings. He realized that there were more than 10 soldiers of the sea wearing bronze armor in front swimming. This was very different. Lu Shu and the rest were walking while they were swimming. They were obviously different. Were these soldiers of the sea the ones controlling the rest and had the surname Ke? Lu Shu was ready to make trouble. He had the chance to launch a sneak attack on the Kes. If he were to fight them face to face, it would be hard to deal with more than 10 Class Cs. But if it was a sneak attack, it would be much easier. It seemed as if they did not guard themselves against the soldiers of the sea behind them. No one suspected that a human had infiltrated their ranks. Lu Shu saw that the ordinary soldiers of the sea did not have minds of their own. They were just numbly walking forward. Suddenly, Lu Shu approached a trench. There was something shining hidden in the trench, swimming around. The Kuz led the way into the trench. The soldiers of the sea followed suit and went into the trench. Lu Shu followed behind them. When he entered the trench, he realized that there was another world underneath. A grand crystal palace stood on the seabed. The palace let gorgeous rays of light. This place was as pretty as a picture. It was like the underwater crystal palace in the myths. Lu Shu and the rest were brought into one of the castles. All the ordinary soldiers of the sea quietly stood in the castle. There was a stage that let off green rays of light. A soldier of the sea with the surname could release the dust in his hand on the stage. Lu Shu realized that more than 10 soldiers of the sea walked off the stage with bare arms. Many soldiers of the sea followed behind. The waves of energy coming from these soldiers of the sea were not strong. They continued to grow stronger. After the soldier of the sea with the surname could finish doing so, he walked out of the castle. Lu Shu did not know what he was going to do. The ordinary soldiers of the sea sat cross-legged with their eyes closed in the castle. Lu Shu hurriedly followed suit. He sensed that the soldier of the sea beside him was rapidly restoring his health. Lu Shu had guessed correctly. These ordinary soldiers of the sea could not die. If the soldier of the sea with the surname could place the dust on that stage, ordinary soldiers of the sea could regenerate. What was this mysterious stage? Lu Shu was curious. As the other soldiers of the sea sat cross-legged with their eyes closed, Lu Shu secretly opened his eye and looked carefully at the stage. For some reason, Lu Shu suddenly felt that chaos, which had been sleeping, suddenly woke up. It was as if it was very interested in that stage. Lu Shu secretly looked at the soldier of the sea beside him. He realized that the remaining soldiers of the sea were like puppets whose strings had been detached. He hesitated before releasing the awakened chaos. Chaos, which had taken the form of a dragon, swam towards the stage and took a bite of the stage. Chaos then swallowed the bit of the green stage that it had bitten off. Massive waves of energy were suddenly released from the stage. Chaos happily fed on the waves of energy. The soldiers of the sea that had been sitting cross-legged suddenly started to turn into dust. The soldiers of the sea that were still wearing the bronze armor slowly disappeared. The bronze armor, that had suddenly lost its support, fell to the ground. Lu Shu was slightly annoyed. His character had been destroyed too quickly. He did not prepare for this. He quickly put Chaos, which was still eating the green stage, back in the Seal of Lands. Chaos once again fell into a deep sleep. Lu Shu could sense that when Chaos was transforming, it did not undergo a complete transformation. Another explanation would be that without Hai Gongzi, it would not be able to use its own ability to completely transform. Chaos, which had eaten the green stage, now had 5 talents instead of 4. A soldier of the sea with the surname Ku and wearing the bronze armor rushed over. When it saw that the stage had disappeared, he said in shock, "Who destroyed the dragon stage and my soldiers?" He felt that something was not right. He looked at Lu Shu, who was pretending to be a soldier of the sea. "Why haven't you disappeared?" Lu Shu felt very awkward. Others could disappear, but he could not. Lu Shu was silent for 2 seconds before answering, "I was thinking of disappearing later." The soldier of the sea with the surname Ko was confused. These soldiers of the sea depended on the dragon stage. Was it appropriate for you to disappear later? From Ko Winley's Distress, plus 666. At the same time, a white flying sword as thin as a thread cut through Ko Winley's head. Concealed arrow. From Ko Winley's Distress, plus 1000. Lu Shu took on Ko Winley's appearance. Ko Winley's corpse did not turn into dust. He stuffed Ko Winley's corpse into the Seal of Lands. Before the other soldiers of the sea came in, he pretended to walk into the castle with a shocked expression on his face. Chapter 622, Stringent Hierarchy. Dragon Stage. The name itself seemed to suggest something. Lu Shu recalled the scene when chaos swallowed the dragon stage and it appeared that the panlong inside could not wait to be eaten up, as though it was trapped inside. Hence, the source of power of the people of the sea was not the remains as what he had expected, but the panlong. Speaking of which, who exactly were the people of the sea? Where did they come from? Lu Shu was utterly confused. However, the destruction of the dragon stage would probably help to alleviate the pressure on Safety Island. In any case, the students there would no longer need to face tens of thousands of sea soldiers. In fact, that was precisely what happened. After the battle, the Daoyuan class students were engaged in a heated discussion about how to collect more bronze armor, as the majority had yet to complete their suit except for the flood of bronze. In the end, however, the people of the sea did not return. No one knew the reason. Having had plenty of rest and now fully energetic, the students waited anxiously for the next round of attack, which never came. In fact, only Chen Zuan and Chen Bailey knew it was because of Lu Shu. Chen Zuan sat beside Du Xueme, gazing at the sea surface emotionally, wondering how Lu Shu even did that. It sounded cool to blend into their enemy's team and venture into the deep sea alone. But Chen Zuan was unable to do it. Meanwhile, Lu Shu waited for a whole minute before other people of the sea arrived. He had maintained his shocked gesture all along. Everyone was equally stunned. Someone asked, staring at the collapsed dragon stage, "Ku Wenli, what happened?" The mask was an excellent tool. In times of emergency, Lu Shu's identity could never be suspected with Ku Wenli's face, when other people's attention was fully drawn to the dragon stage. Lu Shu almost forgot his new name. He answered immediately when he realized the person was asking him, "I have no idea. It's already like this when I arrived." At this moment, a black soldier paced over calmly, followed by 100 black soldiers in perfect synchronization. The leader shot a cold look at the palace and said, "There's a human here. The destruction of the dragon stage is a serious matter. All of you, go and find that human." All of the soldiers clad in bronze armor saluted, "Yes, sir." Lu Shu turned to see piles of bronze armor scattered on the floor of the palace, but no one seemed to have any intention of putting them away. But Lu Shu remembered it. Actually, he would have picked them up if the other people of the sea had not arrived so soon. Otherwise, it would be strange if he was seen collecting thousands of sets of armor alone. Lu Shu blended into the army, secretly studying those black soldiers. They looked rather high-class. How good would it be to get their black armor too? Curious about whether these black soldiers were unconscious beings just like others, Lu Shu poked one of them when he walked past, as he pretended to be searching for himself. Yet, the black soldier slowly turned his head and looked at Lu Shu. "Yes?" "Nothing," Lu Shu squeezed out an awkward smile. They did have consciousness. By logic, it would mean that there were more than one dragon stages in the palace if those soldiers were unconscious. Then, Lu Shu followed the rest as the group dispersed themselves and joined in the search. After all, he was acting blindly on sheer luck as he had no knowledge about Ku Wenli at all. This was much tougher than his Japan mission, when the Heavenly Network had prepared him well on Kirihara Yusuk's information. What if he was suspected by those particularly close to Ku Wenli? Besides, the only thing on Lu Shu's mind now was the bronze armor left behind in the palace. "Ku Wenli, where are you going?" "The human must be strong." "Follow us," someone shouted. Lu Shu stopped his movement. "Sure." That made him rather upset. Lu Shu walked towards them and started searching every corner of the palace in a group of 5. His mind was slowly brought to ease. Same strategy as always, he would kill whoever suspected his identity. At the very least, there were no Class Bs present. In water, Lu Shu had the advantage. Hence, he was confident that he could escape safely even when everything failed. Lu Shu remained quiet the entire time, afraid of saying something wrong. But he knew it was going to be a futile search, since the target was among them. Lu Shu also noticed that the people of the sea had purposely avoided the most majestic building among all the palaces, as if it was impossible for the human to hide there. He followed around for a long while and visited almost every corner of the other palaces. Lu Shu analyzed that the relic was highly likely in the main palace if it was anywhere under the sea. "Okay, let's go and report," a soldier clad in bronze armor said. "We'll be punished again," someone complained, "that human will be chopped to pieces when we find him." Lu Shu laughed coldly in his heart. He would certainly have a good time with those people of the sea after he figured out the situation there. He did not want to take the move as of now, as it required around 2 more days before the complete recovery of his aura blades. It would be safer to act then. At the moment, the main task was to familiarize himself with the details here. Lu Shu followed the group to a side palace. A soldier summoned up all his courage and reported, "My lord, we could not find the human." In the palace, a black soldier was seated in a padded chair. He fixed the 20 soldiers in front of him with a frosty stare and hissed, "Trash. Do it yourself." Lu Shu was puzzled. What did he mean? In the next second, the soldiers beside him separated themselves into 2 rows and removed their helmets. Lu Shu then realized their hairstyle was rather strange and unique. They had braids of hair twisted on top of their head. Slap. Another slap. Lu Shu stared in shock as the soldiers started slapping each other harshly. Was the hierarchy here so stringent? The lower class were ordered to slap each other for failing their task. The soldier opposite to Lu Shu had already taken off his helmet and looked at him perplexedly. Chapter 623, Someone Died. The slapping sound continued on, but Lu Shu was unwilling to follow suit. He would not get slapped for nothing. Meanwhile, his partner was ready to slap him, but unable to do so because Lu Shu still had his helmet on, which covered half of his face. Yet, slapping the helmet would be disastrous to the palm. "Slap me. Quick. If not." Just when he was about to urge Lu Shu to remove his helmet, Lu Shu said, "Please pardon me." Then, Lu Shu gave him a good, big slap, resulting in the latter becoming paralyzed on the floor. His legs were twitching, looking as if he was dying. Kuwen Duo was silent. Everyone stopped to look at Lu Shu, dumbstruck. From Kuwen was distress, plus 666. From the black soldier on the chair also took a while to recover from his shock. He used to enjoy this kind of humiliating punishment, but never had he expected loss of life here. What the heck had happened? Under other people's astonished stares, Lu Shu looked at the one on the floor helplessly. Why was he so weak? In fact, Lu Shu's current physical strength was almost equivalent to that of a Class B, whereas those soldiers of the sea were still at the beginning of Class C, without their protective armor. They could not withstand Lu Shu's slap at all. The black soldier stood up and walked to Lu Shu. He cursed at the soldier on the floor, "Good for nothing." Then he turned and ordered Lu Shu, "Remove your helmet." Other soldiers were feeling sorry for Ko Wenli, as he probably would not survive the black soldier's personal punishment. In the past, there were those who tried to disobey the black soldier, but all ended up quite miserably. In their world, black soldiers could take their lives as they pleased. However, Lu Shu did not do as ordered. He lowered his head with his helmet on. The black soldier asked coldly, "Why is your helmet still on?" Lu Shu pondered for 2 seconds. "My head is cold." The black armored soldier was rendered speechless. From Kuji's distress, plus 666. From. How was that a valid reason? Lu Shu had considered the option of protecting his identity by removing his helmet, but his hairstyle was nothing like the others. Although the mask could turn his hair blue, it could not adjust his hairstyle. Therefore, he could not take off his helmet, even if he wanted. Lu Shu sighed in distress. Why was everything so unpredictable? Suddenly, the black soldier swung his trident towards Lu Shu with a dull bang. The transparent Chang'ing sword instantly appeared in Lu Shu's hand. He yelled, "Go!" Grains of deep sea white sand shot out from the floor of the palace, punctuating those soldiers' faces before they could even react. Lu Shu immediately stepped a small step back to avoid the trident. Then, he curled his body and sprang forward, slashing his sword towards the opening between the black soldier's helmet and pauldron. The black soldier gasped in shock. Never had he expected an ambush here and then, by such an incredibly strong opponent. There seemed to be an invisible yet extraordinary weapon in his grip, but the black soldier was unable to react equally fast. In addition, his trident was too clumsy against the Chang'ing sword. The black soldier tilted his body as much as he could, hoping to survive the attack with the hardness of his armor. In the next instant, however, two flying daggers swooshed out of Lu Shu's celestial map. They were his real trump cards in hiding. In fact, a slash with the Chang'ing sword would have ended the fight, but Lu Shu did not want the armor damaged. From Kuji's distress, plus 1,000. In the meantime, all the other soldiers had been wiped out by deep-sea white sand. Giggling, Anthony rose up from the floor and arranged the sand into a line that went, "Isn't it impressive?" Lu Shu was stunned. You can even arrange the exclamation mark. The line was full of anticipation for a compliment. Lu Shu smiled cheerfully, "Your control over Anthony has improved." "Very impressive." "Certainly." There came another line plus an exclamation mark. Everyone thought Lu Shu had come alone, but he was smarter than that. Why would he take the risk, knowing that the creatures under the sea were at least Class Bs? As a spirit, Anthony had no need for air. Besides, he could easily move about in the seabed which consisted of earth. Undeniably, Earth-type metahumans were really powerful, which explained the safeguards against them among various big organizations. That was why the Fortress of the Collection of Gods had its underground structure protected by mixed steel bars. It was believed that the metal-type metahumans were much easier to deal with as compared to the Earth-type. It did not mean the metal-type were weak. On the contrary, they were shockingly powerful, just that they could not sneak in secretly like the Earth-type. As a matter of fact, Lu Shu had informed Lu Xiaoyu earlier about his plan. Therefore, Anthony had been following Lu Shu closely behind under his feet. Lu Shu packed the dead bodies into his seal of lands and changed into the black armor suit. To him, his undercover mission had failed over and over again, which led to a constant change of identities. The one in the collection of gods was better. This time, his identity had been exposed every 2 hours on average. Even Lu Shu himself was a bit distressed. Lu Shu sized up the black armor, which looked much better than the bronze one, just from appearance alone. It would certainly boost one's combat abilities. A fatal weapon on the battlefield. Giggling, Anthony sank into the floor. No sooner had Lu Shu walked out than he saw the leader of black soldiers approaching him. So what now? He did not even know that person's name. Would his identity be exposed again? Chapter 624, Thank you bro. Lu Shu was disguised as a soldier of the sea called Kuji. All the soldiers of the sea had the surname Ku. As for his relations with others, Lu Shu did not know anything. He did not even know Kuji's hobbies. Under these circumstances, it would be easy for his character to be destroyed. The leader of the black-armored soldiers walked over. How are the results of the investigation? Lu Shu thought about it and said, We didn't find anything. I've sent them out again. The soldiers of the sea with bronze armor had been kept in the Seal of Lands. Anyway, this castle was very big. He could just come up with an excuse. The black-armored soldier suddenly said, This time, I have given you this responsibility for you to show your potential. If you are able to produce results, I will give you permission to undergo training at the dragon stage for 3 days. Lu Shu pretended to be elated. Thank you, master. The black-armored soldier waved. Okay. No need to call me master in private. Lu Shu was dumbfounded. Can't you follow the script? Were Koji and this black-armored soldier on good terms with each other? Lu Shu was silent for 2 seconds. He tried again. Thank you, brother. From Kuming's distress, plus 666. Seeing the distress points, Lu Shu knew that he had said something wrong. What was wrong with you? Can't you just let me call you master? Thank you, sister. From Kuming's distress, plus 666. Thank you, bro. From Kuming's distress, plus 666. Kuming looked coldly at Lu Shu. His eyes were full of anger. Koji, have you gone mad? I am your second uncle. Lu Shu was slightly sad. Kill him. He had not even kept this disguise up for 10 minutes. He was doing worse than usual. The deep sea white sand stretched out and surrounded Kuming. It shut Kuming's mouth immediately. From Kuming's distress, plus 1000. Lu Shu kept Kuming's corpse in the Seal of Lands and took on Kuming's appearance. He could not understand why there were always people eager to destroy his character. Were they all crazy? Can't you just let me live? With Lu Shu and Anthony joining forces, it would be frightening if these Class Cs could survive. But other than the castle which Lu Shu could not understand, the others did not seem to be much of a threat to him. Should he use Kuming's appearance and get rid of all the black-armored soldiers? Lu Shu had planned to pass the bronze armor to the Heavenly Network. The Heavenly Network would be able to make good use of it. The Heavenly Network had many difficulties to deal with. It was not because they did not have sufficient manpower. It was because they had a vast territory to cover. If the Heavenly Network got their hands on these 10,000 sets of bronze armor, at least 10,000 Heavenly Network members would be able to counter more enemies. This way, the boundaries would be safer, right? This was Lu Shu's guess. He had not made full use of the bronze armor's potential. It was best to leave these kinds of things to Nie Ting. According to what Kuming had said, there was still a dragon stage inside the main palace. What was with the soldiers of the sea? How did they trap 2 dragon souls? They even used the power from the dragon souls to carry out their training. Lu Shu felt that there was something wrong. It felt that they had used underhand means to do so. Didn't Hai Gongzi use the dragon race to cover up for his shortcomings? What would happen if he called Hai Gongzi out here? But now was not the time for this. Lu Shu felt that he should get rid of the rest of the black-armored soldiers. He imitated Kuming's way of walking and took a walk around. Other than the main palace that he had not explored, there were 99 black-armored soldiers left outside. He did not expect the soldiers of the sea, who seemed very impressive, to be in the thrall of the dragon stage. It was like the blood devils that had only hidden the remains to escape a disaster. He did not know much about the soldiers of the sea. A black-armored soldier bowed to Lu Shu. Master, what should we do now? Lu Shu imitated Kuming and said calmly, haven't I said before? Don't call me master in private. The black-armored soldier was confused. I'm your second uncle, said Lu Shu. From Kujian's distress, plus 666. Lu Shu was dumbfounded. They all had the same surname and were from the same family. Since Kuming could become a leader, the others were definitely younger than him, right? Even if he was older, saying something wrong would not produce so many distress points, right? Kujian took a deep breath. Master, I am your third uncle. Lu Shu was confused. Why was this so complex? What was going on? Why was the third uncle under his own nephew's command? What a mess. Give me a break. Lu Shu was sad again. Kill him. The deep sea white sand flashed past. From Kujian's distress, plus 1000. Lu Shu later on encountered more than 30 black-armored soldiers. He was utterly muddled by the intricate and complex relations among the soldiers of the sea. He pointed at the others and tried to sort things out. What is the name of your uncle's father? What is the name of your second auntie's father? Have you guys not encountered any problems with this? Lu Shu was speechless. But corpses could not answer. Lu Shu silently placed the corpse and the armor in the Seal of Lands. He would remove the armor once he had the time to do so. Lu Shu felt that he could not feed the black armor to chaos yet. The 1,000 tridents he had should be enough to last chaos for a while. He had to treasure the black armor. It may be useful in the future. Disguised as Kuming, Lu Shu took a walk around. He even went back to where the dragon stage was and shoved all the bronze armor on the floor into the Seal of Lands. There were only about 60 black armored soldiers left. The soldiers were all gathered at the main castle gate keeping guard. They were all Class Cs. Even with Anthony's strength, he could not possibly kill all the 62 soldiers in one shot. Furthermore, his lightning aura blade had not fully recovered. The soldiers of the sea had decreased significantly in number. He could not cover it up with just a lie. He could only go forward. Lu Shu quickly walked towards the gate of the castle and coldly to the guards, "Everyone, come with me to kill the humans. Let them know the consequences of entering the castle." A black-armored soldier softly said, "Master, then who will protect our majesty? He has not fully recovered. What if the humans take this chance to enter the castle?" Lu Shu calmly said, "Off with his head." From Koyun's distress, plus 1,000. They clearly knew what their leader wanted to do. Lu Shu also realized that punishment was the convention here. Chapter 625, Black Helmet. The black-armored soldier slowly removed his helmet. The black-armored soldiers beside Kuyun knew that he could not avoid punishment either. But they did not empathize with him. While their majesty was recovering, Kuming's words were absolute. Kuyun's loyalty to their majesty was no excuse to oppose Kuming. Lu Shu coldly said, "Do you mean that our majesty is afraid of those lowly humans?" "No, master, I know where I have done wrong." Kuyun lowered his head. "Raise your head." Lu Shu was in character now. Now that Lu Shu knew that there was a much more powerful being in the main palace who was still recovering, he could heave a sigh of relief. The other black-armored soldiers did not dare to look over. Everyone felt that a slap to the face would not be much. As long as he did not get caned, it would be fine. Pa. Kuyun was dead. From Koyun's distress, plus 1,000. The rest of the black-armored soldiers were speechless. From Lu Shu received a large wave of distress points. All the black-armored soldiers were dumbfounded. They were frightened by Kuyun's body on the floor. Was his punishment so harsh? Their leader was furious. The group of black-armored soldiers kept quiet out of fear. No one dared to speak. Lu Shu was amazed by the strict hierarchical system here. He had wanted to make use of the opportunity to kill a few more, but no one dared to oppose him. It was as if Lu Shu was walking on a steel wire. The steel wire was a few thousand meters from the ground. One mistake and you would die. Ordinary people would be very careful, but Lu Shu was different. Lu Shu did front flips and back flips, he walked to the end and walked back. Boldness of execution stemmed from superb skill. His body will be left here as a warning to all of you. Does anyone dare to talk back to me? Lu Shu was strict and his expression was very dark. He was afraid that he would lose the corpse. He could not disguise himself as someone else and take the black armor away. Lu Shu pondered. He suddenly said, after carefully thinking about it, what Kuyun said made sense. Our majesty has to be protected. You, and you. Lu Shu pointed at 10 black armor soldiers. The 10 of you, follow me to kill the humans. The black-armored soldiers were dumbfounded. Kuyun had died for nothing. Couldn't you think carefully before you attacked? If you felt that he was right, then he would not have to die. Although they thought so, no one dared to raise this point. No one dared to even mutter a word. Before Kuming had been killed by Lu Shu, his moods were unpredictable, but he had never killed anyone. The other black-armored soldiers thought that the palace had been infiltrated by humans, thus they could understand Kuming's abnormal behavior. Since this was the case, no one gave much thought to it. They were scared of angering Kuming. Lu Shu used the excuse of killing humans to bring the 10 armored soldiers out of the palace. At first, he had wanted to bring the 62 soldiers up to the island and get Chen Bailey's help to kill them. But in the end, he brought them out in batches to kill them batch by batch. This way, he would be able to handle them with Anthony's help. He could not have to trouble Chen Bailey. As they swam up the trench, a black-armored soldier suddenly asked, "Master, are you feeling unwell? The way you walk is slightly." "Kill him," Lu Shu muttered. The black-armored soldier was speechless. But the deep-sea white sand did not appear. Lu Shu awkwardly laughed. "Ha! Ha! I'm just joking." "What, are you screwing up at the most important moment?" "Master," a black-armored soldier asked, "who are you talking to?" Lu Shu did his best to maintain his character. "Is it your business who I want to talk to?" Suddenly, someone shouted, "Be careful. He is not our master." The black-armored soldiers dispersed. All their daggers were drawn. Lu Shu realized that the auras of the 10 black-armored soldiers had merged together. It was like the first time he had encountered the soldiers of the sea on the island. Back then, Lu Shu could not even determine their strength. This black armor was very strange. Lu Shu suddenly felt the armor on his body reacting, but it was countered by the aura of the black-armored soldiers. Lu Shu was dumbfounded. Was it because of this armor? He had struck gold. "You guys are very daring to oppose me." Lu Shu did his best to maintain his character. The deep-sea white sand came late. It proceeded as usual, with every grain of deep-sea white sand becoming a bullet. The black-armored soldiers were prepared. They raised their shields. The deep-sea white sand had to hit the shields with the appropriate amount of strength in order to injure the soldiers. The deep-sea white sand attacked, but the 10 soldiers formed a pale blue ball of light that deflected the sand. Lu Shu was somewhat surprised. Could they mount a defense through the combined power of their black armor? Lu Shu shouted, "Concentrate your attacks at a single point." Corpse Dog and Concealed Arrow attacked the ball of light in turn. The deep-sea white sand also attacked where Corpse Dog and Concealed Arrow were attacking. Their defense was very tough. Lu Shu had not seen any defense which Corpse Dog and Concealed Arrow could not break through in one shot. But the difference between a Class B and a mid-Class C was just too large. The ball of light only lasted for 10 seconds before it shattered like glass under the attack. The 10 black-armored soldiers could not defend themselves and died by the trench. They're all dead." Lu Shu nodded his head in satisfaction. He had prevented his character from being destroyed. But his solution was not quite right. At least his character was stable now, right? Lu Shu looked at the black armor on his body. If 10 sets of armor could create such strong unified energy, then what about 100 sets? If they were faced with a Class C of similar strength, the Class C would probably be defeated in a matter of minutes. When the soldiers of the sea had seen the flood of bronze and retreated, Lu Shu had still thought that they were afraid of the flood of bronze. But thinking about it again, it seemed like they were afraid of being held back by the flood of bronze. In the end, they were most afraid of Chen Bailey on the island. Lu Shu was very excited. He had to get his hands on all the black armor. He turned and headed back to the palace. Anthony suddenly rose from the group with a sheepish smile. He even had a silver fish in his hands, which he passed to Lu Shu. The deep-sea white sand wrote in the background. Put this in your invisible storage equipment. Lu Shu was silent. So just now, you controlled Anthony to go and catch fish. Yup. It's definitely delicious. From Lu Shu's distress, plus 666.
What does it mean to be happy? 'Cause it looks like we all don't know. Glass half full or empty. Man, we just putting on a show. Try to look to the heavens.